Welcome to Game Theorem, where we have serious discussions about absurd entertainment.
Hello, everybody. I will kill you all. Hail, goddess of the underworld.
We're talking about Smite.
Yes. So, we've waited quite a while to do this one. This is one we've kind of had in our back pocket for a while. But Smite is a video game. That's I think, is MOBA the correct term?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's one of those games where you have a bunch of characters to choose from, you get plopped down on the battlefield, and you get to fight as part of a team against your opponents. And it's like a big team kind of game where you fight each other, you have attacks, got magic, stuff like that.
Yep.
League of Legends is the one most people think of because that's the biggest one.
Yep.
And I've just always liked Smite more than League of Legends.
Because it's based on actual mythology?
Well, okay, not just that, but, okay, this might sound pedantic, but the camera angle.
Oh.
I mean, the camera angle in Smite is just, like, so much more interesting and bearable than League of Legends. Like, League of Legends is top-down.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yes. It is an eyesore, like, genuinely. Like,
Alright.
maybe there's a history of this, like, there's probably plenty of games that kind of do that, like, more of those, like, real-time strategy games, right, that maybe MOBA kind of split off from. Mm-hmm. Fine, whatever. Let's iterate on things and make them better, because it's boring to look at. Like, they have to make those models, but you only get to see the model from the top.
Yeah.
And, outside of other animations and whatnot in between games and stuff like that. And League of Legends fans, if there's some exceptions or something I'm overlooking, let us know, I guess. Mm-hmm. But Smite, you always see your character from the back like it's a third-person kind of action game, and I always just found that much more interesting.
Yeah, I really like that.
Makes it feel like you're either playing as your character, or at least following them around, as opposed to just like, sir, I'm in the helicopter above, looking down. Our agent is moving in. But the other thing is that all of League of Legends characters just kind of seemed made up.
Yeah.
The lore seemed very piecemeal-y. Like, you get a bit of lore for for each character. If there's an overarching world, it was only retroactively constructed, know?
Yeah.
Whereas with Smite, the idea is they pull all of their gods from actual real-world pantheons. It's legitimately like a battleground of the gods from the different religions of the world.
Yep.
Now, they don't do any of the Abrahamic religions, any of the monotheistic ones. But, the pantheons, the polytheistic ones, a lot of them show up.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we've played it a few times and stuff, and while normally I don't like MOBAs either, this is the only one I've actually been able to play. I agree with you on the camera angle thing. Definitely a thing that's very important to me personally, because I don't like the top-down thing either. I really don't. And I really like the different gods and their abilities and stuff. Like, they just all seem pretty inspired by what they can do.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like, I'm sure the League of Legends gods all play differently enough from each other. So I think Smite also manages to do that, but they do it while trying to build on top of like what would actually make sense for the archetypes of each god.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think it's really cool.
And I also think the piecemealing story actually works a lot better for these kind of like folksy fairy tale kind of mythos type of situations, right?
Yeah, because you already have pieces of story.
Right, but they're meant to not really be contiguous. Mm-hmm. Like many of them aren't even contiguous within their own, mythology. Mm-hmm. Much less, combine it with other creation myths from other mythologies.
Yeah, it just seems that it's natural or okay for it to be that way because it's just how it is. Whereas if you create it from the start like that, it just seems very disjointed and like hard to follow.
Yeah, like Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind a cohesive version. One of the earlier drafts of the Smite script we wrote was me trying to come up with a chronological timeline for all the gods. But that just kind of proved to be impossible. And
Yeah.
I kind of like how Smite just kind of embraces the incohesion.
Yeah, yeah, I really like it.
Now, there is one giant criticism I have to make of it, though, and that Smite is extremely heteronormative. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm speaking specifically with the way they depict their characters. They have been criticized for pornifying their goddesses,
Yeah.
and I don't want to agree with that assessment, but I kind of have to,
Yeah.
because
I know.
when it comes to the male characters, they come in all shapes and body sizes. You got a lot of hypermasculine ones, sure, but there's enough other ones that they're not the only thing out there.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the women, it's the standard, model body type almost every time with 3 or 4 exceptions.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have hundreds of gods.
Mm-hmm.
So that's honestly been kind of disappointing because yeah, they're gods and goddesses. A lot of them aren't going to wear much. You can sell on sex appeal, but you're kind of making an artistic choice when you choose the same body type every time.
Yeah.
And that is something that's been pretty disappointing to me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you there. I think the only other interesting gods are the ones that aren't exactly human. I like those ones. And I like how they do the bodies of those ones, so that's cool. But I agree with you, for the human ones, it's just bleh.
Right. So we're going to go through and spend the rest of the episode basically just explaining who some of the gods are. Because honestly, there's a lot of interesting ones here. And we're doing it in a pseudo release order, but we're going to break it up by Pantheon to talk about it.
Yep.
So yeah, we would recommend playing Smite. It's not without its faults, but it can be a fun time. And a cool thing is it has, a ton of characters to play. You don't even have to buy them all. You can just buy the ones you actually want to play as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crap, this is not an ad. I'm just saying I like the game.
Yeah, I like it too.
All right, so Egyptian, right?
Yep.
First you have Anubis, god of the dead.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically the one who weighs your soul when you die.
Oh, yeah,
The whole weighing your heart against a feather. He's effectively the arbiter. He's not supposed to be evil, but he's not necessarily good either. He's like a judge. He's the arbiter of whether you're good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
Anubis has the head of a jackal.
Bastet, the goddess of cats. I like her, 'cause cats.
Well, see, again, this is the pornifying thing, right? She should have just had the head of a cat. But they
Yeah.
anthropomorphized her a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Cats were really important in Egyptian mythology, so they had a goddess of the cats.
Yeah, she's wise, but also trickery a bit.
Yep, like a cat.
You have Ra, the sun god, as the head of an eagle.
Oh my god, yes, the head of an eagle.
What?
They have a raw America skin, remember?
Okay, do you have to remind us of that and ruin it? Okay. Eagles were okay once.
Yeah.
Look, not all eagles. Well, okay, anyway, Ra is the king of the Egyptian mythos, or at least that's kind of how he's been interpreted by a lot of, more Western takes on this whole situation.
Yep.
But yeah, Ra is the god of the sun. He's very powerful. He brings the sun and brings light and life, basically.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Sobek, god of the Nile. I believe he's some kind of crocodile-like god.
Yeah, he has a crocodile head.
Yeah.
Yeah, his whole thing is, he's the giant river that kept Egyptian society alive. So very important, even if the Nile is only one river in the world. It also he's got a sperm.
What?
Because it flows. Get it?
Okay.
Because he's life.
All right.
He's the
all right.
lifeblood.
You do the next one.
Insert H-Bomber guy joke about giving Sobek his sacrifice.
Oh my god, no.
Okay, on her, Slayer of Enemies. He's basically the war god of Egyptian mythology, but he has the head of a lion.
Mm-hmm. Neith, Weaver of Fate. She is an orator, and like she's supposed to be weaving fate. So like,
Yeah, she's a complicated one. She's
hmm
not an animalistic one like the others.
yeah, she looks more like a female pharaoh. Is that how you call it?
Well, she's actually one of the ones that's so ancient that we don't actually know that much about her.
Mm-hmm.
That she's like primordial, like she predates some of the other
Yeah,
gods.
yeah, she's
Um,
yeah.
she
That's why she's the weaver of fate. Like she's supposed to be the one who weaved everything.
right, like they make her like literally wear a symbol that was like her symbol kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Aset, the goddess of magic. Who is that?
She's the Egyptian goddess of magic.
Wait, isn't that Isis? They renamed Isis.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I guess so.
Did they just do that for political reasons?
Probably, yeah.
Come on. Like honestly, I'm genuinely upset about that.
I
Like
didn't know that.
like I understand when fascists take your imagery, you might want to like disassociate yourself, but also maybe don't let them take your imagery. Like who out there was saying like, "Oh, we can't talk about Isis, the Egyptian goddess of magic that also shows up in Greek mythology, by the way. We can't do that because there's some fascist group over there called ISIS." Like, come on. Like, I know like the Nazis ruined the swastika, but you know what? If I see a Hindu person with a swastika, I tend to give them benefit of the doubt.
Because they're Hindu.
Yeah, like
Well, I think they obviously didn't want any restrictions on where the game could be or any restrictions on what god you could play in competition.
but
Because this is a big esports game as well.
but that's dumb. Like I literally can't think of a single nation that would care except I don't know, maybe Israel, maybe some other Middle Eastern countries where ISIS, is more of a thing in.
To be fair, they had the whole Kali thing with the Hindu
Well,
people.
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Isis is just, the Egyptian goddess of magic. Magic is her thing. She has like wings and stuff. It just
All
I
right.
hate fascists. It's just this is supposed to be Smite. We aren't supposed to talk about that.
All right. Geb, god of earth.
Another one of like the primordial Egyptian gods. He's literally made of stone.
Yeah.
Kind of their equivalent of a titan, that
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep.
Osiris, broken god of the afterlife. He has this whole backstory where he used to be like a whole god, but then he was killed, and then he was mummified, and then he was resurrected, and now he's like a broken god. He's like in pieces and whatnot. And,
That's interesting.
Egyptian gods have their own like drama and stuff behind the backstory.
Just like every other pantheon. Serket, goddess of venom.
She's the scorpion god.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I guess I'll give them some slack on not giving her a scorpion head, because I don't know how that would have worked out.
Yeah. She has a scorpion tail, at least, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, that
Yeah.
works.
Again, you can see how this is very important to like what it was like to live in Egypt at the time. Mm-hmm. Khepri, the Dawnbringer,
Yep.
he's a scarab, and his whole thing is he's like basically Ra's assistant. He helps roll the sun across the sky. Mm-hmm. He's the one, like, Ra's the one taking all the glory, but Khepri's the one that actually puts in the labor of moving the sun.
Ra is the capitalist.
Khepri is the worker.
Yeah.
This is what we call white collar, but like white as in like white bright light, not as in like... It sounded better in my head.
Yeah, okay. Thoth, arbiter of the damned.
Okay, he has like a beak and like a bird head, but
Yes.
I forget what type of bird, but
Like a darker bird, like a raven or a crow.
okay.
But I think he helps Anubis. Like, he has something to do with the dead.
Well, he's like a historian, basically.
Yeah. Oh, okay, okay.
He's the learned one, the knowledge holder, basically.
Oh, all right, all right.
Okay, then you have Horus, the rightful heir, who's another bird god, but he's
okay.
also a warrior. His thing is basically just being the son of Osiris and Isis.
Oh, I see.
So he had a lot to do with the whole drama about like the whole dad's dead, now he's undead kind of thing.
Oh, okay, okay. And then there's Set, the usurper.
Actually, he's more the war god, more than Anhor is, now that I think of it.
Yeah?
Yeah, his whole thing is he's part animal, but the animal he's part of is just known as like the set animal or Sha.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the god of war is part animal, and what animal that is, no one knows.
Okay.
So you don't want to mess with him. He's the god you pray to if you want to go to war. That's his whole thing.
Okay. All right, you want to talk about the Mayan gods?
Sure. Again, we're kind of going fast because there's so many here.
Yeah, there are.
And honestly, we're not like cultural anthropologists to really know too much to go into them in depth. Some people might say this is kind of cultural appropriation. The only thing we would say is, the company should make sure that they do, their proper amount of research and hopefully get advisors from the cultures that they're actually pulling from.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we're just talking about living in capitalism.
Yep.
And I honestly think it's good to have diversity and not just pick white gods, which they kind of did at least a bit in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But they've diversified it since then. So now, Mayan. You have Hunbat, the howler monkey god.
Uh-huh.
He's just kind of the god of monkeys. I think he's kind of has like an evil thing going on with him.
Well, I think he's like a mischievous.
Oh yeah. Not really evil per se, sorry.
Yeah. There's Kokukan, who's the serpent of the nine winds.
Oh yeah, that's the flying serpent one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Then you have Xbalanque, the hidden jaguar son. Oh, he had a whole story arc of like rising to fight like this monster and everything.
Oh, okay.
He's like one of the hero's fable type of gods.
Yeah, I don't know much about these gods either. All right. Almazinkab, the god of bees.
Honestly, that god's one of the more mysterious ones. He's just, the god of bees.
Yeah.
There are rumors that like he's been here since the beginning of time because bees are ancient, that kind of thing.
Yep.
You have Shock, the god of rain.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who makes it rain.
Yeah.
And he did it by tearing a hole in the sky and like making it cry.
Mm-hmm.
He's, I think, one of the earliest ones.
I think so.
Yeah.
There's a Cabracan, destroyer
Cabracan,
destroyer of mountains.
Oh right, he was one of the bad guys in Xbalanque's story. He where they had to try to stop him because he was like going around and destroying mountains and whatnot. He was basically a troublemaker. He's like this, big buff guy.
Yep.
Willix, goddess of the moon. Again, she's kind of like Bastet in a way, in that she's like this being of the wilderness. Mm-hmm. Although much less trickery and more of like a moonlighter kind of like going by night, going by moonlight kind of situation. Mm-hmm. In touch with nature.
Yep. Alpuk, horrific god of decay.
It's like decomposition.
I think he's like the death god.
Yeah, he like the god of death, but a much more visceral and corporeal way of like literally like rotting corpses and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like has like a skeletal kind of aspect to him. Yeah. But again, not evil because turns out like the concept of like pure evil is a much newer one. Mm-hmm. that doesn't come around until like European stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you have Camazotz, the deadly god of bats, who's kind of like Alpuk levels of like mischievous, except Camazotz is like actually like a threat to people. It's just as the god of bats, he doesn't care about people; he cares about bats. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have Hindu now, right? Mm-hmm. Hindu is the most controversial one of the Smite pantheons because it's the only one out of them that's not extinct. Or at least it was. They've added more recently. I might be wrong in that. But for a while, Hindu was the only one that's like actually practiced by people these days. Mm-hmm. At least in large numbers.
Yep.
So, okay, I guess here, talk about the first one.
Yep. Agni, god of fire. Basically just the god of fire.
He has 2 heads.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And each one's in a different mood to represent how fire has the possibility of both creation and destruction.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we have Kali, goddess of destruction.
Yeah.
Now, there's this whole really dumb controversy where people were mad at how like Kali had been kind of like pornified, which I wanted to disagree with, but I kind of get. But I felt it was, ridiculous to focus on Kali specifically in this regard. You know what I mean? Because yeah, she didn't wear much, but also Kali doesn't wear much.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
actually like by giving her like a bikini to wear, they actually made her wear more than Kali's usually depicted as wearing.
Yeah.
She usually just wears a necklace of skulls.
Yeah.
So they ended up revising her to make her less sexualized and more of a warrior, which ended up making her less accurate to the story.
Yeah.
Her whole thing is that she used to be like the mother benevolent god, but she was corrupted through death and kind of became this like vengeful god that wanted to like destroy all of the enemies that she had in life, and did it using like, blood magic.
Yeah. That was another thing. They had to change all her abilities too because they didn't like.
Yeah, now she's just like a four-armed swordswoman. It's
Yeah.
just like, really?
Yeah.
All right.
And they were going to get sued by Hindu, so that's why they changed
by
it.
a modern Hindu group.
Yeah. All right. Vamana.
Honestly, it feels like Smite's a little cowardly with litigious people.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, come on, Smite, work on that.
Vamana, fifth avatar Vishnu.
Honestly, the different avatars of Vishnu are kind of beyond my level of explanation. They're
Basically, various avatars of Vishnu are all badasses who fight monsters.
they're like heroes. Like the fifth avatar was like this big hero at this one point in between the fourth and sixth, reincarnation.
Yeah.
Then you have Bakasura, the Great Devourer. He's basically like a one-off monster in this like village fairy tale kind of situation. Sorry if you're a Hindu person. I'm not trying to insult your religion. I just, I don't personally believe in it. Anyway, his whole thing is that like he would eat children. And he had like this giant monstrous mouth. He's like this monster. And the way they depict him in Smite is like he's this monster that appears in like a humanoid form but isn't really.
Okay. And then there's Kumbhakarna, the sleeping giant.
Oh, yeah. His thing is, like, he sleeps all the time, but if he wakes up, he can, like, destroy a mountain, that kind of thing.
Okay. Interesting.
You should try to explain the ones you remember, Kira.
I'll remember more as we go on.
If you say so. Okay, then we have Rama, seventh avatar of Vishnu. Another avatar. I don't want to go too in-depth with that.
Ravana, demon king of Lanka.
Oh, yeah, he's like a god of pain.
Okay.
He's a demon, he's a king, he's royalty, boo.
Yep.
And then you have Ganesh, god of success.
Yep.
Which is the one that has like, an elephant head. And, multiple arms, because a lot of Hindu gods have that.
Yep.
And basically, just a really, really cool person. I forget Ganesh's gender, so I'm not going to assume.
Yeah.
But just like basically really awesome. If you have Ganesh with you, you're going to succeed at what you do. Basically a victory god.
Yep. Let's talk about the Chinese gods.
All right, let's go.
He Bo, god of the Yellow River.
Yep.
Just a river god.
Well, because China has basically the four like compass gods of like north, south, east, and west. And China's not surrounded by oceans, so one of them is just the Yellow River.
I see.
Yeah, and that's Hebo.
Okay.
God of that river, but it's a big river.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you have Guan Yu, the Saint of War. He's basically this like really big deal warrior that was in like a fable or whatnot that was like deified. The Hercules kind of treatment.
Yep. Nija, the third Lotus Prince. He's a young mischievous child, I think, actually. He definitely looks really young.
Yeah, I remember him being one of the first like child gods you can play as, to be honest. Then you have Shanga, Fairy of the Moon.
I know the story behind that one.
Okay.
She ended up following her rabbit to the moon because
she was estranged by her lover.
Yeah, she was estranged by a lover, and then she was so lonely that she took her rabbit to the moon. Her pet rabbit.
Because her being with her lover would have like destroyed the universe because she's supposed to be of the moon or whatever.
Yep.
And then you have Zhuang Qi, the demon queller. He's the guy that basically bags the demons. If you're thinking like Luigi's Mansion, that's kind of what it is. It's like souls, basically.
Yep. Sun Wukong, the Monkey King.
Oh, he's more comparable to Hercules now that I think about it, because he's like picked up abilities from the whole journey arc that he had. Like he's part monkey, but he can also transform into other animals.
Yep.
Then you have Nu Wa, Guardian of Heaven.
Yeah, I don't know much about her, actually.
Well, I remember this joke. Have you ever seen a ribbon and thought that would make a great outfit? But okay, her thing is basically she's like the god of heaven, basically. She's the god that watches over the place where all the good souls go to.
Okay.
Kind of what we think of nowadays is when we think of the Christian one god or whatever, but in the Chinese pantheon, this is just one of many.
Okay.
And but she is kind of a big deal. She is kind of like Queen God. She's the one that had to deal with like Shanga.
Oh, okay.
And also, I apologize if I get anything wrong. Please don't get mad.
Yeah.
And she also has like some draconic abilities as well as like multiple elemental abilities. Like she basically kind of has like her hands in a little bit of everything.
Oh, okay. Ao Kuang, Dragon King of the Eastern Seas.
Yeah, so he's basically the Pacific Ocean god. So he's a big deal.
Yeah.
He's a dragon.
Yep.
I actually liked the original way that they drew Ao Kuang as just like a full-on dragon. The more modern take that Smite has done is that he has a humanoid form, and then he just like turns into a dragon for his ultimate move or something like that.
Yep.
Then you have Hu Yi, Defender of the Earth.
He struck down 9 of the 10 suns to save the Earth.
Is that him?
Yeah, that's him.
Are you sure?
Yeah, Defender of the Earth, that's him.
All right. Then you have Jing Qian, the Relentless. Oh, yeah, but he got like beheaded and he's like a spirit walking and he has like a face on his stomach.
Jing Wei, the Oath Keeper.
Oh, yeah, she's the one that has like little wings and flies around.
Oh, right, yeah, I remember her.
Yeah, she's like a messenger, kind of.
Yeah.
And then Erlang Shen, the Illustrious Sage. Oh, yeah, Erlang Shen is like the warrior for like the Jade Emperor or whatever.
Yep. Daiji, the 9-tailed fox.
Oh, yeah, like when you think of multiple tailed foxes, like the thing is, that's a crossover thing. That's one that appears both in Chinese and Japanese mythology. But in Japanese mythology, that can be any kitsune. In Chinese mythology, it's specifically Daji. Or at least she's like the big bad one.
Yep.
Although her thing is more just like she's a powerful woman that tricks men into getting whatever she wants.
Yeah.
But, sometimes that's come at the cost of like starting a few wars. Oh, Mulan, the Ascended Warrior? I didn't know they added Mulan. That one's recent.
Yeah, they added Mulan recently as a Chinese god.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But yeah, she's a warrior. She's basically like the Hercules thing, where she's a warrior who saved China against the Huns and therefore was deified.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over to Norse.
Yeah, I know about Norse.
So first we have Hale, goddess of the underworld.
Yeah, she's the one with like the different personalities.
Well, the multiple identities, right?
Yeah.
So on one hand, she's really nice because she kind of like rules over was it Niflheim, where souls go when they die and haven't gone to Asgard, because Asgard's only for warriors, or Valhalla. Sorry, yeah. Valhalla's only for warriors. Asgard's where the gods are. Yeah. So Niflheim is where all the other souls go to. And Hale will be like, oh, you were a nice soul? Okay, good job, yeah. Oh, you were a bad soul? Then that's when she switches to the other one and, she torments them.
Yep.
So...
she's also the daughter of Loki.
Also, this is the closest, like, I feel like any of the mythologies in here that are, like, polytheistic get to, like, a more Christian take on the underworld. Yeah. There is some history with Norse mythology being unusually compatible with some of the more Christian ones, But anyway, so yeah, Hale is super nice and super mean depending on when you talk to her. She switches back and forth. Yep.
Odin, the All-Father, the father of all Norse gods.
God of gods, King of kings.
Yep.
Then you have Ymir, father of the Frost Giants, who is effectively their version of the Titans that preceded the gods, or like existed in a level below the gods. In the ice world, he's like king of the Frost Giants, who challenged the gods.
Yep. Thor, god of thunder. Odin's son. Everyone knows Thor.
Yeah, but the real Thor isn't nearly like the suave, likable
Yeah,
guy.
I know.
He's more of a, brute.
Yeah. But he's the god of thunder.
Then you have Freya, queen of the Valkyries.
She's cool.
Yeah. The Valkyries are interesting because they're, a woman-only kind of like class of warrior in Norse mythology. And Freya's just the one that leads them. She's, their leader.
And then there's Loki, the trickster god.
Yeah, and Loki's appearance has changed in like almost every depiction
Yeah.
and that's kind of like where like Loki gets like his shape-shifting abilities,
Yeah, actually.
But also Loki's kind of a philanderer. Like Hale is one of his children.
Yes. So is Fenrir the Unbound, which is the next one.
Yes.
He's supposed to be the one that Hale brings the apocalypse, Ragnarok.
Yeah, so like they're devil essentially, except he's the kid of Loki.
Yep, of course.
But because they know like there's this prophecy that Fenrir will cause the apocalypse one day,
They have been chained up.
yeah, to prevent that.
Yep.
And then you have Tyr, the lawgiver. Chaining up Fenrir was difficult, and it was only made possible by doing this like trickery game that involved like Tyr was basically like, look, I will put my hand in your mouth to prove I am being honorable and that I am not here to distract you, just to chain you up. If I'm lying, you can bite off my hand. He was lying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
But he has other like skills and whatnot. He just I think Smite literally like envisions him with like a mechanical hand or some type of like replacement gizmo.
I think so. Uller, the glorious one. I don't know who that is actually.
The bow person, the one that's really good with bows.
Yeah, okay.
And like hunting and whatnot.
Okay.
Rataskotler, Ratatoskr, the sly messenger.
Yep.
Who's like the squirrel god.
Yeah.
or like the rodent god. It's, another messenger god, but like of the nature and wilderness and animals, that kind of thing.
Yep. Sol, goddess of the sun.
Oh yeah, basically a naked woman on fire is the way that they chose to depict her.
Yep.
And yeah, like they had a god of the sun, god of the moon. I don't think they ever did the moon one though.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, which is supposed to be her brother. But yeah, they're the more elemental gods. They're pretty old. Like they might even predate Odin for all I know.
Yeah.
Oh, Skadi, goddess of winter. Goddess of the cold, basically. She's also really good at hunting and survival. She has like this spirit wolf because from her backstory that ends up like traveling with her a bunch.
Yep. Fafnir, the lord of glittering gold.
Greed incarnate.
Yeah. Okay.
And like he comes from the whole like greedy dragon thing, so like he turns into a dragon when he gets too greedy.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Jormungandr, the world serpent.
Another one of Loki's children.
Honestly, I'm surprised they managed to do that. Like,
yeah, they added that one kind of recently.
Is the idea that he shrinks down?
I don't know. You'd have to look at the god reveal to see how he looks in game.
Oh yeah. See, his ultimate attack is he grows to his full size and like wraps around the world, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole idea of Jormungandr is that like he like holds the world together, like literally.
Yep. And then there's Heimdallr, the vigilant.
Oh, he's like a guardian. He has like ram horns, and he like guards Asgard. He's like the bodyguard, basically.
Oh, okay. All right, Greek.
All right, the Greek ones people might be more familiar with, and there are a number of them. Mm-hmm. So we have Arachne, the Weaver. Her whole story is basically she was this girl that dared to challenge Athena, and she actually was better than Athena at sewing, and because of that, Athena got really jealous and mad and turned her into a spider. And some versions of the myth indicate that she's like an immortal spider goddess now. And that's kind of what Smite went with.
Yep. Artemis, goddess of the hunt.
Oh, by the way, it's also supposed to explain why spiders weave webs good, because they're all descendants of Arachne. Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, we have Artemis, goddess of the hunt.
Yeah, she hunt good with bow.
Yeah, she knows nature very well, one with nature, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then we have Hades, king of the underworld.
Yeah, Hades.
And yeah, Hades is just the guy that watches over the souls. Like, there is no, like, dividing them between good or evil in Greek mythology. A lot of people interpret him as the devil figure, which I can see why aesthetically, but he's not evil. He's the only god that, like, works for a living.
Yep.
Because if he doesn't do his job, things fall apart.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Zeus just goes around having fun.
Yeah, Zeus, god of the sky.
Yeah.
Known philanderer.
And also god of gods. He's the one in charge. Mm-hmm. Greek mythology has a strict hierarchy.
Yep.
And then you have Ares, god of war. Does the war good. If you're going to war under Greek mythology, you pray to Ares. You pray to Ares if you're like really bloodlusty. Otherwise, you pray to Athena if your war is righteous.
Mm-hmm. Poseidon, god of the oceans.
Yeah.
So if you're going on a sea journey, there you go.
Also, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades are like brothers.
Yeah, they're children of the Titans.
Yeah, they basically drew straws, and like Zeus is like, haha, I get to be in charge. Aphrodite, goddess of beauty and sex, basically.
Yep.
And again, they give her like this whole mermaid thing, like outfit that was like inspired by like I forget what the name of the painting is, but it's the one where she's coming out of the clamshell.
Oh, okay.
It's an interesting design. I can see why they came up with it. But historically accurate, she should be like in a very thin cloth or with nothing on at all. So again, the pornifying thing is like, I want to defend you, Smite, but like, the trends.
Apollo, god of music.
He's probably the sexiest guy they have.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Who isn't just like a big hulking brute.
That's not sexy. That's just power fantasy.
Yeah.
So then you have Athena, goddess of wisdom, but she gets in a lot of wars.
Yeah.
And she's also kind of petty and jealous.
Yep.
Especially with Poseidon, because she dates Poseidon.
Oh, ha! Kronos, keeper of time, one of the Titans, and like I think the dad of like Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was Kronos or a different Titan.
No, I think it was Kronos, because Kronos was kind of a big deal among the Titans.
Yep.
And they're the predecessors to the gods. Mm-hmm. They also ate god babies.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want the gods to be a thing. They didn't want their power questioned. And then Zeus is like, oh yeah, well, we'll be better than you. Ha, just kidding. Yeah. Well, I guess you could say Zeus didn't eat the humans. He instead had sex with them.
Come on.
Thanatos, Hand of Death. He's kind of like the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
He's the one that like goes and like kills people.
Mm-hmm. Nemesis, goddess of vengeance.
Yeah, again, not much known about her. She just kind of represents vengeance incarnate. Mm-hmm. They made her look like a dominatrix, though. Then that's kind of questionable.
Yeah.
Scylla, horror of the sea.
Yep. She's a famous monster from the Greek tales.
I really like the way they designed her.
Yeah, she's a little girl. Yeah, she's a little girl with, like, big sea serpents under her.
With wolf heads.
Yeah.
So she plays in an interesting way. She's a pretty fun character. And yeah, her whole thing is based off of, like, this one story of being the sea monster that appears to be a little girl.
Mm-hmm. Medusa, the Gorgon. You all know who she is.
Just explain.
She's the one who was cursed to look like snakes because of, I think Aphrodite got jealous of her.
Well, because she basically had a thing with Poseidon.
Yes.
And instead of blaming Poseidon, Athena got all mad at Medusa and cursed her and made her into the first Gorgon.
Oh, so Athena did it.
Yes.
Why is Athena always cursing women?
Because Athena is basically, the the rich housewife that gets mad at all of the mistresses that are sleeping with her husband instead of like, or anyone that like remotely challenges her power, like Arachne. Like,
Yeah. All right.
the thing is, like, I'm the goddess of wisdom, and don't challenge me on that.
Yeah.
You see why she does wars now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Who else we got? Chiron, the great teacher. He's like they envision him as like a centaur kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they kind of deify him.
Yep. Nike, goddess of victory.
You know what? Nike has employed child slavery, huh? And you didn't change her name. You didn't change her name.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever. Yeah, you know, she's kind of like Ganesh, but, you know, for the Greek gods, you know, goddess of victory, goddess of success, you know.
Yep.
Flies around. You got Cerberus, warden of the underworld. You know, a lot of interpretations as like Hades' pet.
Yep.
Big three-headed dog.
Yep.
Yeah.
Achilles, hero of the Trojan War.
You might have heard of him from his Achilles heel, because that was his one weakness.
Yep.
But, you know, the Trojan Horse was one, right? With the Trojan horse? Whatever. You have Hera, queen of the gods.
Zeus's wife.
Yeah, so Hera's, you know, she's queen of the gods, but she's kind of like Nuwa in that, like, she kind of has, like, a little bit of everything with the elements, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then Persephone, Hades' wife, queen of the underworld. And her mother is Demeter, so, like, she spends part-time in the underworld, part-time above, and that's why we have winter and spring when she's above and Demeter's happy.
She represents seasonal change.
Yeah.
When she's gone and visiting her husband Hades, it's,
winter.
yeah, because Demeter is sad. Because Demeter's like the goddess of nature or something.
Mm-hmm, yep.
You know, sometimes this is portrayed as like in a literal abusive relationship, but I feel like that's kind of been colored by the way we think of Hades as the devil.
Yeah.
There have been plenty of interpretations, I think, where it's just kind of like, you know, the gods are just doing their business. Persephone spends half the year with her mom, half the year with her husband, just going back and forth because they live in different places. And like, if that means your crops don't grow for half the year, that's on you, humans.
All right. Roman.
So the Roman gods are just like a reinterpretation of the Greek gods. Sometimes they just literally do the Roman equivalent of the Greek gods, which I find less than cool.
I don't think any of these are actually... Like, they try to do the leftover ones.
Well, no, I think that's what the Roman gods should have been. I think they should have only done the ones that were purely Roman, the ones that came about in Roman times, as opposed to just doing the Roman equivalents of Greek gods.
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Like,
okay.
look at the first one.
Cupid, god of love.
Yeah, the Greek version's Eros.
Oh, but they didn't do Eros.
Exactly, I think they should have.
Oh, I see what you mean.
But also, like, the difference there is we think of Cupid usually as, like, the little angel boy. Eros would have been a full-grown person. Mm-hmm. Okay, then we have Bacchus, god of wine.
Is he Roman, specifically?
I don't know what his Greek version is, if there is one, so I'll let it pass.
Yep.
But yeah, his whole thing is like, I'm drunk all the time, and let's do merriment and have fun.
Hercules, champion of Rome.
Yep, the quintessential Roman god. Mm-hmm. Disney lied to you. He's not Greek.
Yeah.
Also, his name is technically Heracles, but most people know him as Hercules, so I think they just went with that.
Yep.
Vulcan, smith of the gods, who's the Roman equivalent of Hephaestus, who's Aphrodite's husband.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know the specifics of the relationship, and obviously it changes in different media, but my favorite interpretation is he's just kind of the good, hardworking husband that Aphrodite comes home to after she spends all day philandering. And he just doesn't care because he's not that into it. He's got metal to work on.
Yep. Mercury, messenger of the gods.
Roman equivalent of Hermes.
Okay.
And, he's, the god messenger, flies around.
Yep.
Then you have Janus, god of portals and traditions.
Transitions.
That's what I said, right?
You said traditions.
Oh, sorry. God of portals and transitions. He's where we get the word January.
Ah, okay.
because it's a transition from one year to the next.
Interesting.
Also, basically a god of doors.
Okay. Sylvanas, Keeper of the Wild.
Yeah, another like nature god.
Yep.
Then you have Nox, goddess of night. She's just literally an embodiment of darkness. She's not, kind of like Nemesis. There's not much to her.
Bellona, Goddess of War.
Now she's a true blue like Roman god. In fact, I really liked her addition because she's one of the few like women that doesn't have like the model body type.
Yeah,
she actually kind of looks like she might be a warrior.
Yeah.
Although a bit like teen punky, but honestly I was kind of here for it.
Yeah. All right. Terra, the Earth Mother.
I think she's a titan.
Yeah, she's also kind of big and bulky.
Yeah. She's like of the earth kind of thing. And then you have Discordia, goddess of strife. You think of like the golden apple, that kind of thing. That's her.
Yep.
Her whole thing is like chaos. She is the goddess of chaos. She would probably get along well with Loki.
Yep. All right, Japanese gods.
Oh, well, see, those were all the gods that the game came with. The pantheons.
Yeah.
And they added gods to them over time. But they eventually started adding pantheons. The largest of which is the Japanese pantheon, because I guess they're appealing to the anime crowd. But yeah, let's go over them. They started with Amaterasu, the shining light. And her whole story is that she like represents like light and the sun, and she has like this story about like a mirror that like reflects the light.
Yep. And then
honestly, Japanese gods are very story oriented.
Yep. Raijin, Master of Thunder.
Yeah, he's kind of demonic. He's like kind of like an Oni type of god with like a monstrous face and like sends the thunder out.
Yep.
You might remember Raiden from Mortal Kombat. He's based on him.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you have Susanoo. Oh wait, I might have been thinking of Susanoo. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking of Susanoo. Or kind of both, whatever. Susanoo, god of the summer storm. He's basically the good version of Raijin, and also the antithesis of Amaterasu. Yeah. I think they're actually brother and sister, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, possibly.
Either that or they're into each other, one or the other.
Izanami.
I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can, listeners.
Izanami, Matron of the Dead.
Yeah, she's like a zombie.
Yeah, she was actually really scary when I first saw her, but then I started playing as her, and I ended up actually liking playing as her.
Honestly, her story is really tragic. She was basically wronged by the man that loved her. And has to like go through like the world of the dead.
Yep.
Then you have Kuzenbo, who's King Kappa.
Yeah.
You might recognize that. Bowser is based on him.
Yep.
Except they're like water monsters that have like discs on their head that if like the water leaves, they die.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like they're very like water focused.
Yep. Hachiman, Lord of the Eight Banners.
Oh yeah, another kind of Oni one where he's like this like big soldier warrior kind of thing. He's like the war god effectively.
Oh, okay.
Then you have Tsukiyomi, god of the moon. Imagine Shanga, fairy of the moon, except authoritarian.
Okay.
I rule the moon with the iron fist. That's kind of Tsukiyomi.
Danzaburo, the legendary Tanuki. You know what Tanukis are. They're of great fortune. So, yeah, he's basically luck. And usually involved in things with money and greed.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't know how I feel about them trying to depict him, because there's obviously a gross oversight in that he doesn't have massive testicles.
Yeah.
Like, oftentimes they try to, like, fake it by just being like, oh, well, they don't have giant testicles that they use to carry their good luck. They actually just have, like, a giant sack. Like, just a regular sack. But they just give him, like, a book bag.
Yeah, alright. Now we gotta talk about the Celtic gods.
So, like, they didn't even... Whatever. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so we have a few other ones. Celtic is one of those ones that was like, okay, did you really need another white culture to do?
Yeah.
But whatever. There's a few good ones in here, like the Morrigan.
The Morrigan Phantom Queen.
Yeah, her whole thing is she's a shapeshifter.
Yeah, she has like 3 different forms. She has like the old lady, the young maiden, and like the raven. Yep.
She's a trickster.
Yep.
Cernunnos, the horned god. Oh, he's like horned, like as in like an animal with like antlers and whatnot. So he's more a god of nature kind of thing.
Ah, okay, okay. And then there's Cuchulainn, Hound of Ulster.
Oh, he's like the barbarian kind of guy that gets real mad and buff.
Ah, okay.
And then you have Artio, the bear goddess.
She's cool.
Kind of reminds me of Scotty. She's like, a goddess that hunts, but also is like of the wild and whatnot.
Slavic gods.
Yeah, so we're gonna kind of rush through these because they added like a bunch of one-offs.
Yeah.
And we're less familiar with these ones because they tend to be newer. So, okay, yeah, you have Slavic, right?
Yep.
There's only 2 gods for that one.
Chernobog, Lord of Darkness.
Yes, who is like an evil god of like darkness, and I am like he's like has like these like almost like vampiric traits to him.
Yeah, yeah. And then Baba Yaga, Witch of the Woods.
Yeah, and her whole thing is like fortune telling to trick you, kind of like a genie kind of thing.
Yeah. They made a voodoo pantheon with Baron Samedi as its only member, the god of life and death.
Yep, and because
he's the man from the Princess and the Frog movies, the antagonist dude.
yes, except he's not supposed to just be evil.
Yeah, I know.
He represents like both life and death. He's like the dance between the two. In fact, dance is kind of a big part of him.
I see. Interesting. They did Polynesian, and they did Pele, goddess of volcanoes.
I think it's Pele.
Pele, yeah.
Yeah. And because, obviously volcanoes would be a big thing in their culture, so they decided to implement her, where her whole thing is like, like lava.
I think
bursting
she's in Moana.
up. Oh, okay. Next.
Arthurian pantheon. The legend of Arthur.
Isn't that also in Britain, where the Celtics are?
Yep.
How many times do we gotta go back to Britain?
King Arthur, wielder of Excalibur.
Sword King guy.
Merlin, the master wizard.
Friend of the king guy who does magic.
Morgan Le Fay, dark enchantress.
Mean woman who opposes the king guy.
Yeah. Yoruba, which is actually an African pantheon. Olorun, ruler of the heavens.
Nice.
And then Yemoja, goddess of rivers.
Honestly, I can't believe out of this entire list they only have 2 Well, I guess Egyptian is African, so okay, maybe I'll give them some slack there. But it was nice to actually see some black gods. Like,
yeah, these ones are actually dark skinned.
Honestly, yeah, I would probably, in retrospect, I think the Egyptian gods should have been darker skinned. Like, I understand, black people aren't a monolith, but it was nice seeing some, dark skinned gods here.
Great Old Ones pantheon.
This one's a bit of a stretch, because no one actually believes Cthulhu, the Great Dreamer, is real. Or really, no one ever did, really.
Yeah.
But I always kind of thought it'd be cool if they did have, like, a modern pantheon of, like, modern gods. And that's basically what this is, so I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I would love if they would have add other Lovecraftian monstrosities to this pantheon.
At least one other one, because everyone knows who Cthulhu is.
Yeah.
But he's basically the god of madness.
Yep. Babylonian. Babylonian?
I don't know anything about Babylonian stuff.
Isn't that like the Babylonian garden, so it's like really old?
Oh, yeah, like, we're almost, like, talking Mesopotamian, but not quite. Like,
yeah.
That's really, really old.
So, Babylonian, Tiamat, goddess of the Salt Sea. She is the monstrosity that was there before everything else.
Yeah, she basically was the first being, and she begets all other life. Mm-hmm. Honestly, the design they came up with there was pretty cool.
Yep, and then Gilgamesh, king of Uruk.
He's basically this big king dude from Babylon times and myths.
Yeah, alright. So that's all of the gods currently in Smite.
Honestly, like, even, like, with, like, talking about Gilgamesh, they're like, there's a lot of stories about what he's done. We don't know which ones are true or false, because some of them are good, some of them are bad. History, we don't know.
Yeah.
But he was divine, apparently. So yeah, that's Smite. Those are the gods. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed hearing a few lay people discuss some of the most revered pantheons in all of history with their memory as best they could. Please don't hate us.
Yeah, we're willing, like, if you know better about certain gods or whatever, please tell us. Like, we're willing to learn more.
But please be nice about it. We were trying. Like,
Yeah, there was so many of them. We couldn't possibly do extensive research into each one of them.
I mean, we could have, but we wanted to keep it to a single episode.
Yeah.
All right.
right.
So yeah, we'll be off. Bye.
Bye.